All right, let's break down exactly how one of my athletes, Kyle, gained 7 miles per hour in just 3 months. And no, it wasn't from some magic drill or a 400 throw plyo ball program. It simply came from aligning the right pieces: throwing, lifting, nutrition, and mobility. By the end of this video, you'll see how we tied all 4 of those things together and how you can apply it into your own training. Now, the first thing we're gonna cover is the throwing side. So when Kyle came to me, he had what's called a false load. He'd sink into his back leg way too early, which caused him to push his pelvis down the mound instead of rotating. And all that did was just waste energy. So one of the things we did to fix that was program in 3-hop throws. Now, 3-hop throws force you to stay tall throughout what would be your leg lift and allow you to feel the proper timing of when you should go into that back leg. The 3-hop throws forced him to stay athletic and made him feel what it's actually like to rotate down the mound instead of just pushing his pelvis. And that was a huge unlock for Kyle. So the next thing we worked on was Kyle's arm path. He had kind of this low elbow at landing, causing him to be really, really pushy into release, and he wasn't able to get the layback that allowed him to whip the ball to home plate, so to speak. Like I said, he was kind of just pushing it there, which absolutely crushed his velocity. And one of the things we did for that, and something that you guys can do at home, is spam abbreviated throws. So we got Kyle doing a drill where he would start with his arm already in the position that we wanted him to get into, and he would do regular catch play from there. He would do athletic catch play from there. And over time, that cleaned up his arm path, and that told his body that, hey, we get our arm up here when we throw, not down here. And, you know, obviously the results speak for themselves. It's one of the things that helped him gain 7 miles per hour in 3 months. And then on top of these mechanical changes that we made, we programmed Kyle athletic catch for basically every single day that he threw. And what this allowed him to do was take those mechanical changes and then blend that with just being free, loose, and athletic. So when he was, doing throws on the run from 120 feet out, it made it a lot easier for him to make these adjustments up here. And taking that even further, in a game, he didn't overthink his mechanics anymore. He didn't queue up a bunch of different things, relating to maybe his false load or his low elbow. Because of the athletic catch, he was just able to feel what it was like to move free and athletic on the mound. And that was absolutely huge for his success. All right, so now we can kind of get into the lifting side of things. So first things first, when Kyle first joined the program, he was only trap bar deadlifting around 200 pounds, which, isn't very much. So he had a weak base. We really needed to get him stronger. And Kyle was doing kind of what a lot of you guys are doing, which is just having like a bodybuilder split, seeing workouts from Instagram, kind of taking them into their own routine and trying those. That's what Kyle was doing. He didn't really have a foundation. So what we did was just rebuild this completely, and we put him on a 3-day athletic split. That allowed him to focus on getting stronger on the compounds, recovery, and rotational power. So if you're going to the gym 6 days a week, it's kind of hard to hit all of the right energy systems that you need to be a powerful pitcher, right? So strength, power, and speed can all be hit with a 3-day split because you allow time to focus on other things. Like if we go down to the next bullet, med balls and sprints. Kyle wasn't doing a lot of this before he started, but once we got him on the 3-day lifting split, we devoted those 2 other days during the week to med ball throws and sprint work. That allowed him to bridge the gap between strength and speed so he can actually transfer it to the mound. And then every lift had a purpose. Front squats, RDLs, trap bar deadlifts, all focusing on progressive overload, which means adding 5 to 10 pounds to the bar each week. But he didn't just get physically bigger, he actually used this power and learned how to produce force fast. And then nearing the end of his 3rd month training with me, Kyle got 290 on trap bar deadlifts, which is almost a 100-pound increase from when he first started. So now getting into the nutrition side of things, when Kyle started with me, he weighed about 150 pounds, and he was loosely tracking his food and knew he needed to gain weight, but he didn't exactly know how to do it. So what I did was I put him on a 200 to 300 calorie surplus. So we started small, and I got him tracking his macros every single day. So he knew exactly what he was putting in his body and then how that affected his weight on the scale. And the reason we did 200 to 300 calories at first is because Kyle had never really done a hardcore bulk before. And if you just program 500 calorie surplus, 1,000 calorie surplus right from the rip, then that athlete is going to get super burnt out, not going to want to eat anymore, and it could cause digestive issues because when you're overloading your body with that much food, you're not used to it. You have to build up slowly. And don't get it twisted here, even though we had him on a bulk, the goal wasn't to eat junk. It was to eat the right foods so he can fuel recovery and performance. And I was very upfront with him about that from the beginning. One of the things that really helped with Kyle was consuming liquid calories. So getting him drinking protein shakes with, peanut butter mixed in, things that were higher calories so he didn't just have to eat all of this food. Now, when you're starting out trying to gain weight, liquid calories can be a really good idea for you to include, because eating a ton of solid food is not easy. And then the cool part was Kyle just recently went back to school, and after gaining about 10 pounds of muscle over the summer, there was visible growth, and his friends, his teammates, his teachers even noticed it and said something to him.
Got like everyone saying like hey, you're looking bigger. Obviously love to hear that.
So with Kyle, both the mirror and the radar gun started saying the same thing: growth. All right, moving on to mobility. Kyle had a history of knee problems. He actually had 2 MPFL reconstructions. So that was something we needed to watch out for and make sure we were targeting so that he didn't get re-injured. To make sure that didn't happen, we structured every session around targeted warm-ups. So got him on a mobility routine that targeted his adductors, his hips, and his quads to keep those tissues healthy, and then paired that with an active warm-up to get blood flow to those areas as well. No static stretching, just active control and stability. And then after a few weeks, his range of motion got a lot better. It actually showed up in his throw, and he was finally able to move smooth and explosive the way he wanted to. His mobility stopped becoming a limitation and actually became a weapon, all because he was doing the correct things for his body specifically. So through dialing in all 4 of these things, he got 7 miles per hour in 3 months. This is what can happen when you get on the right type of training program. So if you're a pitcher in the high 70s or low 80s and you're trying to gain velocity, you've tried everything, but you just can't seem to break through, then I advise you to book a call with me using the first link in the description down below. On that call, we'll talk about where you're at, where you want to get to, and how I can help, just like I did for Kyle. And if you want to check out the full interview that I did with Kyle and his dad, you can watch that video right here.